ready to learn with us on Bass University Live. Bass University Live starts now. Welcome to Bass University, everybody. I'm excited to have Matt Arey with us, longtime Bass University instructor, and we're gonna be talking about some interesting tools today, the pulse fish style of baits on today's show. So really excited to have Matt with us. Rich, he works with us a lot. Just released Matt's seminar on Bass University.
Yeah, we did. Last week, we released Matt's seminar on Active Target 2, tips and tricks. We've had some Garmin seminars in the past, some Humminbird seminars in the past, and this past winter in the classroom, we were fortunate enough to have Matt give a great outline on his Active Target 2 strategies, which just so happened to include quite a bit of baits that fall into that pulse fish lineup. While all the forward-facing sonar, there's a lot of it that's, generally the same across the board, so to speak. There are some differences, and guys do things differently to maximize their performance with each one of those. And Matt did a really good job at laying all that out. Now, obviously, some of that is going to change this coming season out on the Bassmasters. That we'll talk a little bit about that with Matt. But guys, if you haven't checked it out yet, go ahead over to Bass U and check out Matt's Active Target 2 tips and tricks.
Excellent. Well, you were fresh off of a BFL down on the Potomac River. We'll dive into there a little bit. And Jake and I were active in the high school Bassmaster stuff. So it's been a busy fishing week over at Bass University as usual. And I hope you guys are out enjoying this fall weather. The leaves are already starting to turn, so it's very cool. And we'll continue to get cool as the weather drops. But without any further hesitation, let's bring him in. This is one of our boys, one of our Bass U instructors, Bassmaster Elite Series Pro and Pulse Fish Pro staff member. But man, we really glad to have you with us today, Matt.
Yeah, always a pleasure, Pete. I'm glad to be back with you fellas.
Well, we love having you. You're a great teacher. You're an amazing angler. And, man, I want to just dive right into this because I know everybody's kind of interested. Bassmaster made a big announcement. They coin flipped the tournaments and picked some with and without forward-facing sonar. Where does Matt Arey stand on this decision to split the tournaments with and without forward facing?
First I just want to say it's amazing to me. It doesn't matter what they decide or which route they go, the negativity that you see on social media. And first and foremost drives me absolutely crazy because, which I know, like, social media is just a funnel for negativity, as opposed to if you like what somebody does, you're a lot less likely to go in there and type it out, as opposed to if you don't like what somebody does, you're very apt to go in there and type out, your response. But, make a long story short, the anglers, the proof as far as the voting is concerned, which a lot of people are probably still unaware how that took place with the ABP and the anglers going through not one, but 2 votes. So the first vote basically was to ask the anglers if they wanted some sort of change, whether it goes to 50-50, heavily limited, or it gets banned completely. Close to 70% of the field, or right at 70%, voted for a change. So that was set in stone after that. We're going to have a change now based on what the anglers wanted. The second round of voting, you had 2 options. It was a 50-50 split, okay, or a total ban. What a lot of people don't realize is the majority of the anglers voted for that total ban in that second vote. Now, That being said, I applaud Bass by trying to do what was best for everyone. If you are a FFS magician, which we have a ton of those, right? They're phenomenal anglers. Something else I want to say real quick. Like I'm tired of these people out there that go, they can't catch them without that. I promise you, every kid out there that has crushed them with FFS can catch them without it. They would not get to the elite level without work ethic, time on the water, dedication, and hard work. And that's what all those kids will continue to do with or without forward facing sonar. So what the other thing is I don't think anybody really has a leg to stand on anymore, right? Like whether you're for it or against it, or you're right in the middle. I mean, you can't not be happy with this outcome. I mean, why would you say unless you're 100% relied on it, right? Unless you're scared to death to go fishing without it, then I can see why people would complain. You know, you hear all these things about you can't limit advancements in technology. I agree with that 1,000%, but you can in professional sports. That is its own category. Professional sports. That's what we're talking about here. We're not talking about you and your buddy going out crappie fishing. We're not talking about going to your Thursday night, or we're not talking about going out here and fishing a BFL. We're talking about the pro level, which is no different than any other professional sport in the world, in my opinion. You have to have limitations, because if you don't, eventually, I'll promise you, eventually everybody can do it. And that's not the way any professional level sport should ever be played. I mean, look, you know where it's at now, Pete. You've seen it evolve as much as anybody. You've got a ton of experience through watching these advancements come up through the years. I think we can all agree with what we've seen. And, you know, you also see the dumb arguments online about, hey, well, it was like that when flashers came out, or mapping, or 2D sonar. All that stuff had huge impacts on the sport, no doubt. Nothing compares to live technology and chasing a fish from one end of the lake to the other, hooking it, losing it, catching it again. I mean, there's stories like that every day now, and that's kind of where we're at with it. I only think that it has to be extremely limited at the professional level. That is my belief, and that's for 1,000 reasons. And a lot of the guys that say it shouldn't be limited can't come up with 1,000 reasons. They can come up with one or two, and usually those one or two is because it only benefits them, or they have a fear of having to do away with it and figuring out how to catch them. You know, you can call it old school, but you can also call it natural instinct. You can call it hard work. You can call it your ability to make adjustments on the fly. You can call it more decisions that have to be made on the water. You call it whatever you want, but that is, to me, what a professional sport is all about. It's about being good enough to succeed at the highest level of something without the use of certain tools that make it easier. Now, yes, mapping makes it easier, but again, we're talking about live technology here. I've never seen anything in the history of the sport that compares to this, and I think you might possibly agree with that, Pete. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think this is a good compromise for not just the anglers, but the industry and the fans.
Well, I appreciate you weighing in on that, and you know, it is unique. We haven't seen anything this advanced before. One of the concerns there's a couple things. You mentioned the kids are good, and they're replaying. I'm watching Bassmasters on Roku now, the Roku channel that they have, which I love, and I'm on that thing all the time. You know, it's like I would sit. I can't even remember what I used to sit down and put on when I put the TV on, but now I go right to that. And they've been replaying the Sabine River, one of the tournaments. I don't know if it was this year or last year, but I keep tuning into the live, and I'm watching Koyo Fujita top 10ing without using, you know, notoriously that's all he could do, and here he is fishing on the bank and top 10ing in that tournament. And a lot of the other guys that you know that you say can't catch them, or maybe the public says you can't catch them any other way. They're very proficient at catching them any which way. You got to be good. Forward facing is not easy. I mean, it's a challenge. So you got to be a good fish catcher to be able to catch them that way, and you got to study, and you got to be really good at it. Here's one of my concerns about limiting it is the burden that we've put on the young kids that have qualified using it. They've spent their careers in high school and college becoming very proficient at it. They qualified for the elites using it, and now that tool's being taken away from them. And I don't know I don't know what's right or what's wrong, but I'm concerned about, you know, I'm concerned about that. And I'll give you an example, Matt, that I had. Like when I fished on, the Bassmasters, they pushed all the tournaments to sight fishing tournaments, which was my biggest weakness. I still I can catch them sight fishing. I love to sight fish, but when I compete sight fishing, I'm not as competitive. I'm not as good at it as you guys are. For whatever reason, it was my Achilles heel, and for several years, I had to compete under that umbrella of, man, every tournament's going to be a spawn tournament, and it was challenging. So that's what I worry about. These kids, I call them, the new kids that are very proficient at it and got into the elites because of it, and now they're being limited on their use of it. So I don't know. That's something I'm concerned about.
Yeah, I mean, that's a valid point, and at the same time, I think the organizations, and I'm not bashing them by no means. I think it happens so fast, and it was like forward facing sonar was there, and then all of a sudden, like what you say, 2 years ago, everybody really understood the power of it, and then your pixelations and your clarity and your range and your all that stuff. Your color palettes got a little bit better, and then people were exposing how good it really is. The problem with that, Pete, and you just said it, is that they are 100% reliant on that tool and only that tool. Well, which in turn changes the entire way the sport is played. So if we want to completely revamp how baseball's played or whatever, could you imagine what that would look like in the future? Because forward facing sonar is powerful, but I'll promise you it won't compare to what we can see in 5 or 10 more years. We'll have rods that cast for us. Heck, we might even have a robot that catches them for us. Why not allow that? You know what I mean? What I'm saying is eventually you have to stop it somewhere, right? Or there's no such thing as a pro level sport. Again, if it gets more kids into the sport, I have no problem with that whatsoever. But if their true end goal is to play at the highest level, then the organizations, it's on them to make them learn every skill set that they need to become a successful professional, whether it be fishing or any other sport for that matter. I mean, you can't make it to the big leagues in baseball if you can't hit, run, throw, catch. You got to do it all. I just don't think at the professional level it should be so pigeonholed into one particular deal. And that you said it, like these kids are scary with it. They're so good with it, but they're also, a lot of the young generation now is 110% reliant on that and only that. And that's a problem for everything, the sport as a whole. I mean, and I'm not going to be the guy that says it's going to take a huge toll on the conservation side of things, but I mean, it will eventually. I mean, technology keeps getting better. It will eventually. I mean, there's no reason why people in 10 years with the technology that we probably will have then, well, I know we'll have by then, can't go out and catch a limit of fish, whether it's bass, crappie, catfish, whatever it is, every single time they go. It's going to get there. I mean, you see how far it's come in the past 5 years. It's going to get there. And with AI and stuff now, again, like you have to put restrictions in professional sports when it comes to technology.
Well, to your point about the robotics, I have no cartilage left in my left shoulder, so I look forward to having a robot that can go out and fish for me a little bit.
Well, they can probably replace your arm now. That'll make the cast for you, Pete.
I'd like that. Maybe I could do it right here from my computer from time to time.
There you go.
It's coming. It's coming. I'm glad Bassmasters left it in. I think that was important. I'm really glad that at least half the tournaments are there. I tell you what is interesting though is some of the tournaments that they took it away from. Like what is it? Like Champlain, I think.
Yeah.
Is one big one that comes to mind.
Yeah, and back to your point about some of the younger generation, because I don't get involved in heavy debates and stuff on social media. I don't like the negativity, and I definitely don't like to dabble in that. But when I see a comment like when they went Guntersville, they flipped a coin between Guntersville and Lake Martin, and Lake Martin got forward facing, Guntersville did not. And there were immediately some comments saying, "Good luck at Lake Guntersville without FFS." And I'm like, and I click on the profile and they're like 17. And I'm like, if they could only sit down and just take the time to watch some of the old Bassmaster tournaments, or I mean, from 7 or 8 years ago, I've been there with FLW, and look, there were giant bags caught without it well before it ever existed, right? It's just different methods. You see a little bit more variety, and it's definitely going to be a different playing field and a different tournament the way it ends up. Now, there might not be 40 bags over 25 pounds, but to me, it makes it a little bit more exciting when there's 6 guys all within a pound of each other, and they're able to separate themselves from the rest of the field, and then they battle it out with 2 or 3 guys on the final day and things like that. So, I mean, I kind of chuckle when I see comments like that.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people miss too that a lot of the tournaments this year, like Bill Lowen comes to mind, one without it, and there was others. I think Justin, you were saying there was a couple others that were one without it. And the Chris Johnston, the AOI, I saw a comment from him about, how important a lot of his points were scored without that technology. You use it a lot, but a lot of times not using it and continuing to be successful. One that I point out is John Cox, who as of last year, he had the best track record for AOIs for like the last 3 years, or I forget how long we look back. And he doesn't even use it, and he was just consistently banging out top 10s in the AOI race, and I think he fared pretty well again this year without using it. So I think it's interesting. It's going to be an interesting tournament. I heard John Cruz. I liked his take on it. He likes something new. This is a new challenge. It's adding a new dynamic. He likes it because he's got his wheels are already turning about, how he's going to practice for certain lakes now, and he's going to re-strategize how he's going to compete this year. So, that was an interesting take. And, well, here we go. It's going to be, it is what it is. It's going to be an interesting year. Look forward to it. I appreciate your take on the matter. And the negativity in the industry, I wholeheartedly agree with you on it. And I tire of it. And, man, it's rough because this has got people positioned hard on both sides of the fence, and I think it's really taking its toll on the sport. I think a lot of the viewers and the fans are tiring of it too. Let's get back to fishing. So let's do that, Matt. Let's talk fishing, man. We want to talk with you about a really cool technique. Now, we had Todd on. I interviewed Todd at the Classic a few years ago, and we were talking about the pulse fish, jig heads, the baits, this technique, this strategy that is really, really cool. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about it. It's it's kind of a cross between a chatterbait and a jig-headed minnow, and I'd like to talk to you about. Do you have some handy there? I see you looking around. There it is, right there. And this is we've heard it called the scrounger head. The Pulse Fish Lures has developed their techniques and strategies on building them and making them. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so the Pulse Jig, and you can see it here. I just showed you one. This is actually a 5/8 ounce version. So we make this bait from an 1/8 ounce. We make an 8 3/8. I would make it all the way up to a 5/8. So, and my most popular size is probably a 3/8, which I actually have one rigged up on a rod right here. We'll talk about the setup, but that's it right there. So basically, the Pulse Jig. To me, it's very versatile. First of all, like the 5/8 ounce versions, the heavier versions, they've had a lot of success over the years on a lot of your ledge lakes, your Tennessee River systems, things like that. When the fish get out there deep, back in the day, you saw some heavy hitters with FLW kind of showcase how how good a scrounger type bait can be when you're fishing out there on them big schools of fish. It's something that they don't see as much. Guys go up there and they crank them. They throw big spoons, big swim baits, things like that. But that little dude right there, I mean, it's a fish catcher. And there are a lot of different ways to rig it and fish it. The 5/8 ounce version, again, the deeper style approach, the ledge fishing, things like that, all the way down to the 1/8 ounce, which I showed you just a second ago. And we'll start off by talking about that 1/8 ounce. Basically, what this bill allows this bait to do, you cast it out there, whether it's on a medium or fast retrieve, that bait's doing this in the water. It's got a very subtle swimming action. It's got a vibration that's super attractive to fish and very, very lifelike. But this 1/8 ounce version is kind of a sleeper in the lineup, in my opinion, because and I know some guys that throw this thing on a spinning rod. I'll either throw it on a spinning rod setup with braid to like a 7 or 8 pound fluorocarbon leader, and I'll use it a lot in the fall time of year when they're keyed in on that really, really small bait. If you see my soft plastic trailer on the back there, that's actually just one of our Pulse Fish soft plastics that we sell. Just a minnow imitation bait, and I've actually cut it down. I don't know if you can see it right there. I've actually taken some scissors and cut part of it down. Normally that's about a 4-inch bait, and slid it up on there just to imitate a smaller bait fish. But yeah, in the fall time of year when they're keyed in on small bait, you can actually take this thing. This is something really different. You can skip it around docks and shallow cover and catch some really, really nice fish on it. But it's a really, really good schooling fish bait in the fall. And I always say match the hatch. We've got that's your pearl color there. We've got smoky, which is kind of a lead color, natural lead color. We've got like a Tennessee shad, an albino, mostly natural colors. But this one I've actually got rigged up to 3/8 ounces is kind of the Tennessee shad. It's got a little green hue on the top of the head there. And that's actually got, everybody knows what that bait is, I'm sure. And that's the green shad color and one of those freeloaders, so which is a really nice bait on the back of that, scrounger head also. But the 1/8 ounce can absolutely be a bite getter in the fall of the year. And again, don't overlook. I mean, same places we go and we swim a jig around docks in the fall, or we're even flipping docks, or we're throwing a spinnerbait and laydowns. Like this little dude right here is something they never see that time of year. So again, you can rig it up on a spinning rod if you're more comfortable with that. I actually throw it on about the same setup that I throw a 3/8 ounce version on, which we'll talk about next. But they're actually one of my rods for Pulse Fish. This is a 7-1 cut maker. I've got it rigged up on a 7-to-1 gear ratio reel. Some of the heavier ones, I'll go down to like a 6-to-1 just because I like to slow roll it a lot more. And it's easier for me to slow roll on a lower gear ratio reel because I tend to like to reel real fast and fish real fast. So sometimes I have to force myself to slow down. But I'm usually throwing that 1/8 ounce on usually 8 to 10 pound test fluorocarbon. This is a 3/8 ounce version that's rigged up here. Same rod and reel setup. It is my cut maker. It's a 7-1 medium action rod, but I'm usually going up to about 10 to 12 pound fluorocarbon on the 3/8 ounce. The 3/8 ounce version, actually fish it, over top for suspended fish, over top brush, especially in the post spawn time of the year, like May and June. It shines really well, and that's also a really good size bait during the shad spawn too. So the 3/8 ounce version, super versatile size. It can be fished from a foot of water all the way out to 20, 25 foot of water. Again, if I'm trying to keep the bait down there deep in the strike zone, I'll go with that 5/8 ounce version. But a lot of times that time of year on that 3/8, I like a 3 to 4 inch bait. And I'm trying to match the hatch. But a lot of times in May and June, they're on some bigger bait fish than they are in the fall. So the 5/8 ounce version, that's when I actually will step up. Usually my size trailer, whether it's a 4.5 to 5.5 inch bait. Sometimes I'll even go to a 6 or 6.5 inch bait. And I'll rig this version on. I'll usually go to it's my rod and lineup called the check casher, but it's a 7.3 medium heavy. Tends to hold that bigger bait a little bit better, handle that bigger bait a little bit better. And I'll usually go up to 12 to 15 pound fluorocarbon. And you might say 12 pound, that's kind of light, but the lighter line seems to give this bait a little bit better action. So I don't like to go up to super heavy line when I'm throwing any type of pulse jig. I'll keep it as light as I possibly can as far as what I can get away with in that, whatever that situation may be, in order to not impede the action. So, but yeah, that's kind of the lineup of our Pulse Jig. Super versatile bait, a lot of different ways to fish it, and it is a fish catcher. But if I had a personal favorite, it's the little bitty dude right there. That's just one that's overlooked a lot, and it does get a lot of bites.
How do you fit it in? Like when well, let's talk about that little bitty dude right now. What's going on in North Carolina? Have those shad started to pile into the creeks? Is it happening already down there right now? Is this the time to be picking it up?
Yeah, 100%. So just in the past week or two, we started to have some cooler nights and some cooler days. We've
Yeah.
got some shad moving around. We've got a little bit of schooling activity that's starting up. And one of the biggest things that happens on several of the lakes around here, like Lake Norman, Moss Lake, for instance, Lake Wiley, is those fish will get to schooling on certain areas, whether it's bridge pilings around marinas, the backs of creeks, on flats. And a lot of the bait that they're keying in on right now is very, very small, whether it's as small as 1.75 inches up to about 2.5 inches. And that's where that little dude's such a big player. This time of year, is when I'll always have that 1/8 ounce Pulse Jig handy with a small, bait fish imitation soft plastic on the back.
Yeah, I remember, man. I remember being down in North Carolina even this time of year where you could walk across those little bitty shad. Like
Yeah, yeah,
they're so abundant, and you can't. They're so hard to trigger the strikes. Like
it's
you
very
would see the
hard.
fish busting through the bait and couldn't get them to go.
Yep.
This seems like a sneaky little way to get them to go.
100%. And this is kind of the area of the country where the old Charlie Brewer slider grub and those tricks started. And
Yeah.
that was due to exactly what you're talking about, Pete, was these tiny bait fish. And I'm talking about like good ones, like for around here, 2.5 to 3.5 pound fish coming up and cutting through this bait and feeding on those tiny shad. And man, you could throw everything in the box that you think they would bite and they wouldn't touch it. So I always say desperate times call for desperate measures, and guys started throwing crappy jigs and stuff like that and catching them. And again, this is not far from that. So and it has a little bit different action. But a lot of times, I'll burn that thing across the top of the water, and again, it's just swimming just like, because what's happening in those situations, Pete, is those fish a lot of times they're not actually feeding on them necessarily when they come up, but they'll come up and they'll cut through the bait, or several of them will
Yeah.
cut through the bait to separate them, right? And
Okay.
yeah, so a lot of times you'll see one little isolated minnow, right? He's over there by himself, and as soon as they cut that bait and that minnow gets isolated, or that shad or whatever it is, you'll see one go, engulf him, or you'll see him chase him around in a little figure 8 motion or whatever it is. So that's what you're imitating is that little fleeing shad that gets separated from the school, and you want to make him V across the top of the water like a lot of them do when they get spooked and they're trying to get away.
I've seen that, and I saw some weird behavior too. Like I've seen them almost like a whale feeding
Yeah,
on.
like
You just push their mouth open and just run right through them,
yep.
trying to catch as many of them as they can at times.
Yeah, yeah. You see it all. I mean, they're predators, and they're going to eat when they can. But they do work together too. It's crazy when there's a lot of them. I mean, they're not smart like orca smart. Like how orcas will team up on a seal or whatever. They're not
Yep.
that smart. Well, I say they are. And I think they're getting there, but or I feel like they are some days. I can't catch one,
Right.
but I do think they do work together. When it comes to being able to bust up different balls of shad and things like that, so they can take advantage of that.
Well, it's going to be going on. If it's not going on now in your part of the country, it's going to be happening here real soon. We've already seen it. Honestly, I was out fishing with my son. We're starting to see the fall turnover. I was fishing an hour north of here, and I'm already seeing that pea green that the lakes get when they start turning over. So it's happening fast up here, and all the reservoirs down south are going to be starting to deal with all that fall stuff, which I love. By the way, everybody's in a tree stand and watching football. That's fine, more fishing for us. But take us through some other times. I want to ask you this: when are you picking this bait up versus a chatterbait or a spinner bait, or where does it fit in there? Is it rigged side by side and you just cycle through, or do you have a
Uh,
strategy for that?
no, not necessarily. I'm using this bait. I'm using it a lot on schooling fish and suspended fish, and I'm using it in multiple different scenarios. But a lot of times, like it can be one of my rotation baits. To your point, like let's just say suspended fish and brush pile, like we're talking about the 3/8 ounce. Like I may have a single now, and again, it's water clarity. This is more of a visual presentation, not necessarily super dirty water, because it does have a very subtle action. If I'm in high dirty water situations, things like that, I'm spinner baiting, chatter baiting, things like that. But I'll have this bait in my rotation. Let's just say I'm pulling up to a brush pile. I've got 10 or 15 fish suspended around this brush pile. I might have a single swim bait tied on. I might have an underspin tied on. I might have a pulse jig, a crankbait, maybe a top water, something like that. So it's kind of part of my rotation in that scenario. Same with whether I'm on a big deep school of fish, ledge fishing out on the Tennessee River somewhere, I'll have that 5/8 ounce version with a little bit bigger bait, and it's just part of my rotation. I might throw a deep crankbait, big worm, jig. I'll have a pulse
Mhm.
jig on too. Fall time of the year, it's just in my rotation of schooling fish baits. I always have it on the deck for different scenarios. So I hope that kind of answers your question a little bit.
Yeah, it does. I've got two follow up questions. The first one is grass. Do you like going to Guntersville? Like I'm
Yep.
thinking about where we fish here on the Chesapeake. Do you have experience or snapping it out of the grass like you would normally do with a chatterbait? Like we get so much heavily pressured areas like you do at Guntersville. Is this a bait that works well snapping out of the grass like that?
I honestly am not going to sit here and lie. I don't happen to, but that might be a question for the next guest that's coming on later. As far as snapping a pulse jig out of grass, I have never attempted to do that, but I will have some scenarios in the new year where I will absolutely be able to mix that in the rotation. And I would say, somewhere around a 3/8 ounce version would be my go-to size for something like that.
Right.
But definitely something to try. Again, cleaner water, grass lakes, definitely something to give it a whirl.
Well, Rich and I, we were talking about we just released your active target 2 seminar on Bass University, and I throw it to you, Rich. We were talking about the baits to use with that technology.
Yeah, how do you fit this in, Matt, with your approach when looking forward when you're going to be able to use the live technology? How does the pulse jig fit into that strategy?
Well, the biggest fear I have when approaching, obviously with suspended offshore fish, the kind of the main approach with FFS or what made it popular is chasing suspended fish around bait with minnow type baits, jig head minnows, things like that. My biggest fear when I pull up and I find these fish on my active target is throwing a bait that moves really quick and drawing those fish too close to me too fast, right? So if the fish are in open water, I like to try to put a jig head minnow or something like that on them first, just to try to entice them to bite quickly. If they're relating to structure, I don't mind throwing a bait over the top of their head because a lot of times they'll run up off that structure and they'll slide back down to it. So the pulse jig is kind of like 9 times out of 10, it's more my secondary or third potential attempt as far as my bait selection or rotation with active target fish, because again, it's not something you can sit there and shake. It's made to cast and retrieve, right? Whether it's at a medium or medium fast retrieve. I don't want to. The biggest thing I want to do, I don't want to do is throw a bait out there. It comes up over top of their head, and they just get in behind it and bird dog it all the way to the boat super fast, and then I've screwed up my opportunity. A lot of times I can throw a jig head minnow or something out there and start shaking it, and if they don't react to it in the time I think that they should, I'll try to keep them a safe distance from the boat. I'll jerk that thing up and get it out of there real fast, and then I may rotate in a pulse jig or a single swim bait or something of that nature. But if they're on structure, I don't mind throwing a pulse jig out there pretty quick. A lot of times they'll rise up on it if they don't commit to it. They'll slide back on the structure. I can still offer them some different presentations without yanking them all the way to the boat and ruining my chances. So, but again, it's typically more of a secondary type presentation after a jig head minnow or something of that sort.
I got you. So this is a follow-up question. It's not related to FFS necessarily. Have you ever applied it on shallow water smallmouth?
Trying to think. No, I have not actually. Shallow water smallmouth. Obviously, I don't even have the option here in the Carolinas to do that.
Right.
Hardly ever, if ever,
Right.
except when they're spawning on a few of the mountain lakes.
Yeah.
So shallow water smallmouth fishing. Probably the only time that I get to do that much is a little bit at Champlain. That's more of a deeper deal. Typically, when we're there in August. A little bit at the St. Lawrence River, which. At the St. Lawrence River, the other thing, again, because this is a cast and line retrieve, I like a little bit of slower presentation. Like I catch a lot of my fish up there, on wacky worms and little flies and things like that, because I don't want that sucker to get in behind it and not bite it, and then he see me and it's over. You know how clean the water is up there. So
Mhm.
to answer your question, I have not really had a good scenario or a good situation where I felt like it was the right application at the time. Would it work on a certain situation? 100%. Like if you get them piled, especially in the South, like those big smallmouth, Wheeler Lake might be a great example. So Wheeler Lake at a Forest Wood Cup years ago is one John Cox won, actually. I don't know if y'all remember that one. Several of us had some success on the lower end of that lake fishing for schooling smallmouth, big giant smallmouth. They were on bait this big, Pete, like this big.
Yeah.
And that is a perfect scenario on smallmouth that we're feeding on a little shad in 2 foot of water where an 1/8 ounce pulse jig will get some bites. That would be a perfect scenario to be able to pick it up. Unfortunately, that was like 10 years ago, and I didn't have an 1/8 ounce pulse jig in my boat. Actually, the 1/8 ounce pulse jig didn't exist 10 years ago. So, but yeah, that would be a situation where I'd absolutely pick it up and try it.
That's great stuff. Yeah, we're seeing it too. We got a lot of those bait fish around us that are real tiny this time of year. So I think we're all going to be on Tackle Warehouse trying to pick up some bait after this call, Matt.
Yeah,
but
we got Todd actually in the queue, and a couple of those questions he's kind of chomping at the bit a little bit to get in here and get his take on things. Do you want to hit our break and come back with Todd?
I think it's a great time. Let's do that. We've got Todd Goade from Pulse Fish, and we're going to be taking a quick commercial break, and we're going to be keeping you with us, Matt. If you'll stay with us, we'll keep talking fishing right after this.
We're off the clock to clock more fish, to fill our live wells and empty our coolers, because there's more to explore. The latest Humminbird fish finders work fast, see clearly, and know all the best spots. They fish even smarter paired with the Minn Kota, and break down the water like never before. If you like your plans loose and lines tight, then it's time to explore. Only with Humminbird. Get right to the fight. New Mega Live 2 forward-facing sonar puts you on more fish with an ultra-clear, rock-solid picture of underwater action. Next-gen clarity, next-level fun. Only with Humminbird.
Do you love bass fishing? Then you have to check out Bass University.
Access over 1,000 bass fishing seminars and episodes.
Get discounts on the tackle from your favorite tackle brand.
Learn the latest techniques from the top pros.
And never stop learning.
And never stop learning. And never, ever stop learning. Welcome to the Bass University.
Welcome to Bass University.
Welcome to Bass University.
Welcome to the Bass University.
Welcome to Bass University.
The original Element rods were really Cashin's first launch, kind of at a price point level. With that, we got a lot of feedback.
And that's what brought about the Element Z2 and its launch. The most affordable American-made rod on the market.
Mother Nature may be tough. I'm tougher. I'll take you where chaos is the cost of entry and where the fish are worth the fight. Because the bigger the question marks, the better the quest.
Welcome back to Bass University, and I see he's here with us. It's been a minute. I interviewed you down at Bassmaster Classic, Todd. It's good to have you back with us.
Thanks, Pete. It's good to be back. Yeah, that was a classic a few years ago down at Hartwell.
Yep. And since then, you've been out making hay over at the NPFL, and as I see some trophies there in the background.
Yeah, 2023 was a special year. You know, it was one of those years I could have fallen out of the boat and not got wet. I mean, it was just, I caught every fish I needed to catch, and it's a year I'll never forget. And I mean, I never duplicate either. It's just one of those years. I mean, to get a top 10 in all 6 events, again, it was one of those special years. I made all the right decisions. I zigged at the right time and zagged at the right time, and just game plans came together, stuff happened, and it was a fun time. And it just, I don't know. I've always loved tournament bass fishing and fishing in general. And Matt makes fun of me, calls me the old man all the time, but I'm 57 years old, and I'm just as excited about a bass biting my bait now as I was when that first one blew up a topwater plug in a farm pond when I was 7. And the day that goes away is probably the day I'll hang it up and quit fishing. But I don't see it happening anytime soon.
I love that. We're about the same age. I got you by about a year, and minus my, the shoulders and the various ailments that you got to deal with and the pain. I'm with you, man. I'm loving it. Maybe it's my son's into fishing now, so I'm fishing with him all the time. But man, I love tournament fishing, and I love watching it. And I'm with you, man. It's I think I'm going to keep doing this. I don't know if I can hold up to Rick Clunn's standard, but that's a great goal to chase, for us, Todd.
Well, I know my dad's watching, and I hope genetics have been good in our family. And my dad is 84 years young. He's got a 17-foot Triton. He lives out in Lubbock, Texas, and he still fishes in their bass club. They fish Lake Allen Henry all the time, about an hour and 10-minute drive from the house. Launches his own boat. He's got 2 Lowrance Grass on his boat. I got him a Ghost trolling motor. I taught him how to drop for spotted bass and catch spotted bass several years ago. I actually taught him 2 techniques that he wiped the floor in the bass club several times. Like, I taught him how to fish an A-rig years ago, and he caught a 9.5 pounder on an A-rig in their classic tournament one year, and he won the championship. He won the points, I think, for the year, but he also won the big fish pot that had carried over in every tournament because nobody had caught one 5 pounds or better. So he ended up winning like, I don't know, $2,500, something like that. But I think if I'm right, he's been in that club for 25 years, and I don't think he's been out of the top 10 in the last 25 years. And he loves bass fishing just as much as I do. And I'm lucky. I do, have a few aches and pains. I don't wake up sore every morning. I feel like I've taken pretty good care of myself. So I get up and go pretty good still. But you actually have one on me though. You've had more trolling motor straps break than I have. And you've went in the water one more time than I have.
Yeah. My body handled that pretty good, so if I can survive that, I figure I got another decade in me at least. So yeah. I'm looking forward to that. But I want to give a shout. I want to give a quick shout out to Matt too. Matt's been a phenomenal steward of our company the last several years, and he's just, man, they don't make him any better than Matt Arey. Just the best in class from a tournament angler, the way he carries himself, the way he interacts with fans. It's genuine. He's genuine. And I pick up the phone and call him all the time. He always answers. If he's in a tree, he texts me. I mean, he's the best of the best. I'm so fortunate to have Matt on our team. They just do not make him any better than you. And I appreciate everything you've done for us.
Todd, I'll give you that $500 I told you I'd give you for saying that. No, likewise, man. They say, you just got to surround yourself with good people, and we've been fortunate enough to be able to do that, both of us. And yeah, it's been a fun ride, and I hope it continues for a long, long time.
Absolutely,
that's high praise, Matt and Todd. I know we were talking fishing, and I imagine, we were talking about some techniques that Rich had mentioned that maybe you were chomping at the bit to weigh in on. We were talking about smallmouth. We were talking about grass fishing with the Pulse Jig. What can you give us your experiences and your take on both those scenarios?
Yeah, there's actually 3 things that you mentioned and Matt and I's fishing styles are a little different. Matt's more of a power type fisherman. I mean, he does finesse fish a lot. But if you look at the 6 rods in his lineup, a lot of them are power fishing type rods. You know, the juice rod for frogging and the check casher for a big jig and stuff like that. The 6 rods in the Pulse fish line I like to power fish, but I'm a little more finessier in my approach and the way I fish. And one thing, like he was talking, you asked about grass, if you've ever thrown a Pulse jig in the grass. And I have actually done that at Guntersville, not necessarily, if you reel it, I like to throw mine that time of year and that setup. I like to throw a 1/4 ounce on a 7-to-1 gear ratio on like 12-pound line. And that's the max I'll go with a 1/4 ounce. I like it on 10 actually. But if you keep it above the grass, I don't know if you remember that year that Jamie Hartman won at Guntersville throwing a big topwater the last day on the edge of that grass line. So I've done the exact same thing.
I remember that very well. I ended up second because of him.
Yeah. So that very scenario, I was at Guntersville going down a grass line throwing a 1/4 ounce Pulse jig, and I had, 19 or 20 pounds on that 1/4 ounce doing that. And it was, making long parallel casts to that grass line. Because if you remember, the bait was flicking right on the edge of that grass too. And I caught a lot of fish doing that. So that's the kind of the first scenario. The second scenario, I can't talk about specifically where it was, but I have smashed the smallmouth. We make a black Pulse jig, and smallmouth love black. So one of the things, and Zoom's been I've known those guys forever, and they're really good people too. And they make a 3-inch shimmer shad, and I've got one on an 1/8 ounce here. That's one of my best little setups, is that little 3-inch shimmer shad. But I took a black Pulse jig, and I did it with a 1/4 ounce with a 3-inch shimmer shad and a 3/8 ounce with the 4-inch, a black one, and on a 7-to-1 reel, almost as fast as I could wind it. I mean, a really fast retrieve, and I caught a lot of big smallmouth doing that. It's been a really, really good player. I mean, smallmouth love chatterbaits, and this is something, it's a vibration they don't feel. It's something they don't see every day. And while it ended up kind of not working out in the event I was in, it actually worked really well in practice. So the fishing kind of changed, but I have caught them, and I've caught them up here at South Holston Lake in Bristol. There's some giant smallmouth in that lake too. I've caught them up there on a black Pulse jig too. So that smallmouth love a Pulse jig. And you mentioned earlier about, would you throw a Pulse jig where you throw a chatterbait or a spinner bait, something like that, Pete, that you mentioned?
Yep.
One of the things I like to do in the early spring, when you start, water's getting up there in the low 50s to mid 50s, I've actually went behind people with a 1/4 ounce Pulse jig, going down the bank, throwing it like you throw a bladed jig or a spinner bait. And I do that a lot, and I get a lot of bites and catch a lot of fish doing it. And I'll use, 10 or 12 pound test on that 1/4 ounce. But I'm throwing it on a 7-to-1 gear ratio reel too. And I'm actually throwing it on this AOY special Pulse fish rod. It's a 7-foot medium heavy, extra fast. And it just gets a lot of bites. I'll throw it. I have it in my rotation, not because I own the company, but because the baits catch fish too. And I just wrote an article for the NPFL that'll be on their website sometime this week. And I talked about 3 baits for fall fishing. There's 3 baits I always have on the deck. And this is a little off topic, but one of them is that 1/8 ounce Pulse jig that Matt talked a lot about. It's just a bite getter. And the other 2 were his signature series spin and peak underspin and the signature finesse swim bait head. All of those. And like he said, a lot of times fish get in the back of these creeks and they get on flats. On a spinning rod setup, I use K9 braid, and it's actually 15-pound 9-strand braid, but it has the diameter of 10, and you can throw it a mile. And I put it on there Pro 100 fluorocarbon on 8-pound test. And when those fish get back there on those flats, they're real shallow, and a lot of times they're schooling. You can bomb these little baits and reel them back as fast as you can, and you get a lot of bites doing that, and you actually stay away from the fish. And like Matt said, you don't call them all to you. That's those three things I have on the deck of the boat. I'm going to have them at Logan Martin. I've got back-to-back weeks. I leave on the 20th to go to Logan Martin for the last NPFL tournament, and then we go straight to Hartwell for the 2024 championship. And those three things are going to be on the deck of my boat both of those events. So,
wow, that's great stuff. The Logan Martin, is that going to be as tough as I hear people talking about?
I don't think it's not going to be a problem getting a bite. Logan Martin's full of fish. That lake has always fit my eye. I've done really well there over the years. I fished it 15, 20 years, and I finished 7th there the last time we were there. But the key is I think 12 a day is going to be really good, may even be a top 10. But, you're going to catch a lot of fish. You're going to catch a lot of 1.5 pound, pound 3/4, 2 pound spotted bass. The person that can figure out how to get, a good 3 to 4 or 5 pound largemouth bite each day is the one that's going to distance himself. And the lake is full right now. They've been in one of those cycles like we have in East Tennessee, where this is the wettest year I can ever remember in East Tennessee. I don't know about you, Matt, but Alabama's kind of caught in that same weather pattern too. Logan Martin's still full, and normally they start drawing it down this time of year. And the water willows, by the time we're there, a lot of time that water willow grass doesn't play because there's not enough water on it. But if they keep getting the rain, it's still full. I mean, 3 weeks ago, I saw a lot of small bait already flicking around in the water willows. So, I mean, it could be a really good event. And Swindle even said it may not be as tough as people think it is, because if they don't draw it down, there's definitely going to be a swim jig buzzbait bite in them water willows.
I love fall fishing. It's really cool that you've got a tournament coming up there. I'd like to see more fall fishing in some of the major tournament. I'd like to see the elites get deep into the fall. Matt
wouldn't.
I can go either way. We did that one year. It was COVID year. When they split, they moved 4 or 5, 3 of our events or something in the fall. And I do enjoy fall fishing because it does kind of present a whole different kind of challenge, and I like to be challenged. I mean, that's what competitive fishermen like to do. I do like to spend my time in a tree stand, as everybody probably knows. And you do too, Rich. I'm looking at you going, I know Rich likes to hunt.
In 2020, the deer herd got a lot better in North Carolina.
Well, but I'm with you. I mean, I've always said the more you can spread the season out, the more diversity you can see, the more different scenarios you get to see, which to me is better for everybody, the industry, the anglers, everything. But when it comes to production and television, which we all know plays a huge role, and you have to compete with college football and things like that when the fall time rolls around. So from a viewership standpoint, a lot of the people that fish also hunt. That's why we don't have big boat shows in the fall and fishing shows in the fall, and we don't even have classics or red crests in the fall anymore. So you just got to keep that in mind when we all want to have some fall tournaments, but at the same time, we have to do what's best for the industry as a whole too.
Yep.
You remember FLW back in FLW back in 2016 had those 2 events in the fall, and Thrift won the one at Norman. But I think you fished them both. I fished the Norris one, and I was the first one knocked out of the 20 cut that time. And I think you made it, I believe.
I can't remember. I think I may have top 10 both of those tournaments, but Thrift did win the one. James Watson won the one at Norris.
He did.
And I think he was throwing a black buzz bait or a little plopper in typical fall pattern, just put his head down in covered water, and probably didn't get a ton of bites each day. It kind of was my approach. I think I'd spinner bait on mud lines and buzz bait and a jig and just went power fishing. And I'm glad you labeled me as a power fisherman earlier, Todd, because for years I was labeled a finesse fisherman for some weird reason. And that's never been who I was, but it's definitely something that I've had to become over the years. There's no doubt. But yeah, power fishing is, that's where we like it.
That tournament was the one that Watson introduced the plopper to the world, I think, on that one.
Yeah, I'd say that was one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, he sure did. Well, that's a great bait. Todd, what's happening over at Pulse Fish? Or what are you working on, or what's happening over there with our line of lures?
So I kind of came in about 15 minutes in when Matt was talking, and I don't know how much. I know he talked a lot about the Pulse Jig, but just the cup on that bill and the way we put the bill on the head separates this bait from the other baits like this in the category. What it does, it allows the bait won't roll. You can wind this bait. You can put it on an 8-to-1 and wind it as fast as you wind it, and it won't roll. I mean, there's striper guides at Lake Hartwell trolling our 1-ounce ones 5 to 7 mile an hour, and they don't roll.
Wow.
They don't twist your line as bad as the other ones too. But that cup in that bill really gives that good hunting action. And Matt had a freeloader on his, and this bait will carry those bigger baits. I mean, I've got a Zoom regular fluke on this one, but it's just a bait that gets bites. So that's just, and we're the only company that makes the Pulse Jig in that scrounger category. We make it in 5 sizes and 7 colors, and we actually have the plastic trailers to match each color. So that kind of differentiates us in the market in that category. But 2 things that we've came out with recently, about the end of June, we came out with a bait. Everybody throws a bladed jig, a chatterbait, this and that and the other. And I kind of call that your main piece. You got a main piece. We came out with a side piece. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's a bladed jig alternative. It's made on a spinnerbait frame, but I worked about 7 or 8 months on this bait to get it right. And the hunting action that this bait has, you talk about coming through grass and clearing grass. This bait is incredible with that.
Wow.
I've literally caught hundreds of bass on this bait, testing it through production, and now it's on the market. I've caught hundreds of bass on this, and this is our morning dawn color. But right now we've got it in 7 colors in 2 sizes, in 3/8 and half. We're actually going to have a 3/4 ounce next year because it's been so popular. I mean, we've sold thousands of these already in like 2 months. It's been phenomenal, and tons of 5-star reviews on our website. So we're going to add some sort of a Rayburn red, royal red color, for next spring, and we're also going to add a 3/4 ounce in the side piece.
Would you call that
also
only a grass tool, or like, can you throw that around docks, rocks, wood? Like,
this bait skips phenomenal. You wouldn't think a bait like this would skip, but it skips really well. And I throw it around rocks. I mean, I live in East Tennessee where rocks are everywhere, and a good pattern in the spring and in the fall is throwing a bait like this in between those rock cracks, between the broken rock and the mud. And this bait works really well for that. You can throw it around boat docks, works great in grass, catches the fire out of smallmouth. On my way up north in July up to the St. Lawrence, I stopped at Oneida. I went 2 days early, and I stopped at Oneida, and I traveled this year with Drew Cook, Patrick Walters, and you guys know Justin Kimmel. Kimmel runs with us. Well, Kimmel was at Oneida, and I was going up the highway, and Patrick was a couple of hours behind me, and Kimmel said, "You got to stop at Oneida. I'm smashing them out here." So I got there about 3:00, and he met me at the dock, and I got my boat in there, and he said, we went out, and he said, "Just go over there and go down that bank and just drift and throw your side piece." And I caught like 23 or 24 bass on it in about a 400-yard stretch. It was stupid.
Wow.
I mean, they were knocking a foot of slack in the line. It was a good fun way to start a northern trip, I tell you that.
That's awesome. Shout out to Justin Kimmel, and shout out to Lake Oneida. That has really been, and I have you know how you have a love-hate relationship with lakes? I hate Lake Oneida. I want to drain that lake.
I didn't drain it yet, Pete.
And
I think I'm going to have to give it another go. I keep hearing such amazing reports about it that I'm going to have to give that lake another go. But
well, in that scenario that day, they were in isolated grass patches, and you had to throw that side piece as far as you could throw it. You couldn't get close to them or you'd spook them. As far as you could throw it, and wind it as fast as you could wind it. And when you feel the grass, you just clear it, like you would a normal bladed jig, and they just lock it down. It was really fun.
That is awesome. Knowing the Oneida smallmouth like I do, I guarantee you they would be jumping out. They would be jumping on the bank to get away from any lure I threw at them that day. But it's good. Good stuff. All right. So we've got a side piece and some great stuff. I really appreciate the fact that bait won't roll and the design that you've made there to create that scenario, because I know that is an issue with that style of bait. It can definitely roll, especially on higher speeds. So it's really cool that that you have designed your way around that. Do you spend a lot of your time? Are you the primary designer over there, Todd?
I'm a tinkerer by design, but I got to give the credit to the original founder of the Pulse Jig, the guy that invented it. His name's Randy Link. I don't know if you know Randy or not, but Randy was a long time Ranger rep too, back in the 80s and 90s. And
yes, yep.
And he invented this bait, and a little deeper history on it. I mean, he actually sponsored me in 2017, 2018, because I was a believer in the Pulse Jig then, and 19. And at the end of 2019, his wife tragically got killed in a head-on car crash over there. He lived on Lake Hartwell, and she was coming home from somewhere, and somebody from the DOT was on their phone and hit her head on and killed her. And he came to me and my former business partner in December of 2019 and said, I really don't want to do this anymore. You guys could take it further than I could ever take it. If you want to take it over, you just pay me a royalty on everything that's got a bill on it. And I was like, absolutely. So at that time, all that he had invented the Pulse Jig, and that's the only bait that he was selling into the tackle shops there, kind of in that South Carolina, Georgia area. And since then, now we've got at least a couple hundred SKUs of product, and we've grown it from one bait to a lot of baits. And one thing he did, the 5/8 has a little bit thicker bill. So the 1/4 and the 3/8, the bill material is actually measured with a durometer to get the thickness of the bill right. So there was a lot of effort with the durometer of the bill to get the exact thickness to make the bait run true all the time. So we found the right formula. He did. And we've just maintained what he had found worked really well. We do source this bill material here in the U.S. There's a company in Texas that makes this for us. And that's another differentiator. Look how clear that bill is. It's almost fluorocarbon clear. And I know the one Matt had on his rod had a little bit of yellow to it, but he's thrown that thing a lot. And our bill doesn't yellow near as fast as the other ones out there on the market. It just, we pay a premium price for this material because we're just not going to put an inferior quality product on the market. And it's great to have grown this company the way it's grown. We don't get any customer complaints. You can count on two hands how many I get a year, and we make them right immediately. And we make raving fans out of people that have an issue with something. It's just fortunate. When you have high standards, you build quality products, nothing ever comes back. So we're really proud of the fact that, this bait's made in the USA, and I make me and my daughter, she's been helping me now 3 days a week. but we make every one of these that go out the door. These aren't made somewhere else and shipped to us. I make them right here in my shop, right out there on the workbench, every single one of them. So, I think having that strict a quality control is a reason that we don't ever have any issue in our products.
Well, that's outstanding, and that's terrific to see your growth, and it's a really unique bait that people need to try, and it's a great time of year to try it right now because I know, the fall bite is challenging. So, I'm hearing loud and clear that little 1/8 ounce deal is going to be a weapon that's going to get you some bites when you're out there struggling, especially down in those southern reservoirs. So give it a try. Man, I want to thank you guys for your time. Todd, I want to wish you good luck at Lake Hart and Lake Hartwell coming up. And we'll be watching for sure. And Matt, I want to wish you good luck in the deer stand.
I'll be there Saturday.
Saturday already. Here it goes. All right.
He'll probably be this afternoon, truth be known. He's fibbing.
Probably.
Well, that's outstanding, guys, and I really appreciate you taking the time to hang out with us at Bass U, and we'll look forward to rooting for you, Todd. And make sure you check out Matt's class on Lowrance forward-facing sonar. It's available on Bass University as TV, as well as other classes that Matt has done with us. He's a great instructor and a champion angler. So thanks so much, both of you guys, and we hope to catch up with you guys real soon.
Yeah. Thank you, Pete. Oh, one quick thing on that active target. That last update, which I think was 25.2. If you don't have it, you better get it. That thing is awesome. There's 2 new color palettes. One's a green palette. I use that thing exclusively at St. Clair this year. It is phenomenal. I'm telling you, this latest update is the deal. Rich is shaking his head like he already knows. Yeah, I'm
shaking it too. As a Lowrance guy since 1986, I can attest to that active target update, and you can see fish on the bottom unbelievably now with that update too. That is a phenomenal product. So, and I did a little tip I posted, I think Friday, on social media about one thing people do. They pull their trolling motor out of the water. They don't stop their sonar on their active target, and that thing's generating heat when you're running down the lake. Or I always stop my sonar when I'm running from place to place, and it'll definitely extend the life of your forward-facing transducer for that active target. So stop your sonar every time you pull it out of the water and go to the next spot.
I have heard that. I've heard that tip. That's a great one, guys. And once again, thank you guys. Justin, we're going to say goodbye to Todd and Matt, and we got some Bass University stuff we're going to catch up on. And thank you so much, guys. It was great having them on the show. And really, really cool stuff as my mic tries to jump out of its stand right here. We got to get involved with this pulse fish deal, Rich. It's something that I've tried, and I haven't quite figured out, haven't dialed it in, but now's the time.
Yeah, there's a couple takeaways there on a personal level from that. One obviously being the side piece, that is something that I'm definitely going to incorporate into the fishing, right out here on the bay. The grass fishing's kind of going away for us right now. Like, it's the time of year where a lot of things are changing, but if you can slide that thing up under a dock and, fish it around rocks and woods and lay down, that's absolutely something that I'm going to have to try out, try to employ, see if we can get some extra bites behind people out there. It's a lot of pressure. And then the Pulse Jig in and of itself, those larger sizes, I'd like to experiment with them on some heavier lines, skipping them back up under docks, and just to see, you never know what'll get you that one little extra bite. And it's always good to try new stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. Justin, you come on in and bring in the sub of the week when you're ready. But before you show that sub of the week, Rich, let's talk fishing, man. We've been all on the water a little bit. Riz, the Potomac was in the fall pattern. It gets tough down there. What was happening at the Potomac, and how'd your fish catches go?
Well, so for the Potomac, it was a better event for me down there than I've had in the past, but it's still not the event that I was looking for. This one really, really hurts because I had the bites to be fishing on Saturday or fishing on day 2 on Sunday. And I just didn't keep them pinned.
Execution.
I accomplished the hard part of the day early in catching a 4-pounder. And I filled it out with 4 rats around it. And I had 2 areas, one of which was a flipping pattern and the other of which was a cranking pattern. The flipping pattern ended up, aside from the 4-pounder, not being as strong as I thought it was. And I only left myself an hour or so to go fish the crankbait fish. And it was so much better than the primary pattern. Caught a fish on my first cast. As soon as I pulled up on it, I think my co-angler caught one behind me, and then proceeded to hook and lose 3 fish in a row that were all in the 2 to 3 pound range. And I had 2 fish that were 110s in my bag. And I saw all 3 of them before I lost them, which makes it hurt even worse. And to miss the cut by less than a pound, it sucks. It sucks. It's like that freaking river down south, man. It's like so similar to where, it's hard to have good success at home and go to a river 2 hours south that it's similar, but it's different, but it's not the same, but it is the same. And it's like, can see the freaking success, can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's just so hard to grasp it and break through. I spent my Labor Day weekend down there scouting. And I had found some things, and gosh, between myself and Connor, we spent damn near 26 hours practicing grass and turned up 3 bites between the 2 of us. And we just rode it off and fished hard stuff. He went one way up towards DC. I went the other way down towards Aquia. And it
sounds like you got the bites, and you maybe
I don't know if they were biting it. They were swiping, but
yep. Well, and that happens that time of year. Conditions are tough, and you were real close. I think you make that adjustment an hour earlier than when you did, you're probably talking a different story. And that's the way it is, man. You gotta love the learning, man. You gotta get in there and wrestle. I love that you didn't run from a September tournament. I'm proud of you for that, and the other people that can often, people have a tendency, man, fishing's tough. I'm not going to do this tournament, but man, that's awesome that you just jumped in the mix and wrestled with a difficult September tournament on the Potomac. And I think you need to start a support group for Miss Fish. Jake would like to join that support group. He missed second place. He did have second place, but he missed his 5th fish a number of times in heavy cover. He would set the hook and they'd come unpinned, and we were fishing in fall turnover, and where we expected to fish brush piles and deep in the lake that we were at. The fall turnover, the pea soup, had started on this body of water and pushed fish on the bank, as that it often can happen.
Where were you?
Pompton Lake was the lake that we were on, and it looked like they were having a pollen scenario, like the water was yellow and pea soup, and we had found current, and we had found that the fish had gone to the bank. The bigger ones were on the bank. Getting your bait on the bank, and they did good. Both shout out Jake and Tanner Music, who was fishing in the youth division out of our boat. They both took second place. We caught a fair amount of fish, and a lot of shorts too. So the kids had a great day of fishing, and Yeah, but Jake's still recovering from losing some of those fish. Losing that fifth fish is always something to deal with. But were you fishing this weekend, Justin?
When was I last out? I fished on last Wednesday and Thursday, I believe, out on the Chesapeake. I took my buddy Dylan, who's him from the Coast Guard, so we went out. And we had a good time, man. He got on a 6-pounder, which was pretty cool. I helped a scuba diver on the flats. I was fishing down the grass edge, and I got this guy running up on me in a duck boat, and I'm like, "What the hell's going? What is this guy doing, man?" And he goes, "Hey, man, do you have that live scope?" I said, "Yeah, man, I got live scope." He said, I lost my shotgun when I was duck hunting the other day. Could you help me find it? He hired a scuba diver. We're on the edge of the flats, and I'm scoping around looking for a shotgun. I told him, I was like, dude, I'm not going to see the shotgun unless it landed in the sand, pointed straight up. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
And he's like, I lost it 2 days ago. I said, dude, I hate to break it to you, but that thing's as good as gone, my man. And he's like, well, can you just, so I only went over because I just wanted to see the scuba diver on the live scope, which was pretty cool. Show my buddy, you could see his feet kicking and all the bubbles coming up, and they were unsuccessful in finding the shotgun. But I do have a waypoint if Rich wants to get crazy and go down there and look. It must be a very expensive shotgun if we're hiring scuba divers and stuff like that. But yeah, that's
maybe that area gets a little bit of current.
Oh, I told him that for sure. Now I said, hey man, we had a flood tide this morning. That thing's probably in the back of Furnace Bay by now or something.
How'd the scuba diver look
on the scope?
Yeah,
it looked cool. You could see, I could see it was hard because he was blowing up so many bubbles and it was only like 5 foot of water. Right. But when he would stop breathing for a couple seconds and all the bubbles would disperse, you could see him clear as day, which is pretty cool.
That's cool. Yeah. Man. Well, if anybody could find it, Rich could find that gun. Hopefully it's maybe it's a family heirloom. Hopefully not.
Yeah, they were good guys. I felt bad for them, but 2 days passed, that thing.
Yeah,
that thing's gone with the wind. But that was the extent of my fishing last week. We got caught some numbers the first night and then just caught a couple good ones the next night. But
Well, Jake and I are switching gears. We haven't been on the flats on the Chesapeake for a minute, chasing the tournaments around. But we've got the Chester County, the final tournament of our season coming up. Not this weekend, but next weekend, I guess. And so we're gonna get out there and try to catch a fish.
Stay off our spots, Pete.
Wait a minute. It seems to me I gave you guys some waypoints that I want to call them right now. Me and Jake get first shot at them.
That's all right.
Oh, that one. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Have you caught a fish off that waypoint yet, Pete?
I haven't made a cast.
I've caught multiple fish, so I think I claim it now.
Wait a second. I'm not buying into that.
It just moved on me like 20 yards. Or I don't even want to say what I think happened, but
what do you think about September 20th down there for our tournament? Is it going to fish good? Is it going to be tough? What are you guys thinking?
It's going to be terrible.
Yeah, honestly, I think there's probably 3 different strategies and to go about to win that tournament, and none of them are very appealing. So it's going to be tough.
You know how it's a grind.
In the fall, what happens to us guys that don't know that these grass fisheries is the grass bite starts to dissipate, and you got to start making that choice. Am I going to try to make the grass fish work, and can I catch them well enough to compete out of the grass, because it's still going on? There's still plenty of big ones out there, still ways to get that done, or you try to make it happen in a different way. But I don't know. We're going to have fun doing it. I'm looking forward to fishing with Jake. I've been watching kids fish for too long. You know, I sit in the back of the boat and watch as the boat captain. So I look forward to making a few casts myself, maybe setting the hook a time or two.
Yeah, hopefully I didn't teach him too much stuff, because now he's going to just use it against me.
Yeah, he said you're very good with certain techniques, with the
I ain't good with nothing. I just got lucky, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and you may have a problem with Zins, is my understanding.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, okay.
We may have a different support group we got to send Justin to, Rich. I don't know.
Oh, man. In the heat of the moment, you're catching, you know, a lot of big bass. I reward myself. That's all.
Yeah.
Do you consume those, Rich? Is that a thing you use?
No, I probably need to make the switch, but no.
Rich is still old school, but I will say, Pete, Tackle Warehouse, shout out our guys at TW, and any baits we talked about on this podcast will be linked in the comment below. Get them at Tackle Warehouse. But they put out a post of what's in Tucker Smith's boat. And hey, rookie of the year, my boy's on the Cool Mint Zen train, just like JH over here. So maybe there's something to it, man. Congrats to Tucker on a great year, by the way.
Yep. When Jake and I saw that post, and I thought you were going to tell me that Tackle Warehouse has started to carry them.
I hope so. I hope they do. I hope they do. Trust me, that would make my freaking day if they started doing that.
They can make a serious profit just selling to you, Justin.
Oh yeah, whatever. Hey,
you and Tucker, you know.
We'll be all right. I can't believe Jake told you that, man. That's crazy.
Well, when that post came up, he said, you know what? Justin takes these things, you know.
That's funny.
Well, isn't that what I had to run down for you when we were up at Thousand Islands?
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep. So we knew. Well, good deal, man. I'm we had, by the way, shout out to Lake Master Mapping. Helped us so much. Once again at Pompton Lakes, we were unable to practice. I can't tell you, we just with Jake's wrestling and his fishing, we don't get to practice and prepare as much as we'd like.
Yeah.
We have to show up cold, and I cannot tell you how impactful and helpful that mapping is in helping us plan a day, strategize, get on the water, which you don't know very well, get around safely, find the habitat that you're looking for, and big shout out to the Lake Master Mapping. And
it makes the make sense so fast. Like, so like I only have mapping in my console unit. Like I don't have the mapping up front because I don't have Explorers. I still have old Helixes, but my waypoints obviously link. And if I drop a waypoint and then I go back and I look at the map, almost always it's like there was a little bump out, or there was a little depression, or there was, like, you see it on the mapping where the bites come, and you're like, oh, okay, this makes good sense of why there was a bite there. There was something different, and it shows it on the map.
Yep. And I also, there's a couple things that we want to, we posted a lot. We're going to be posting a lot more, but so many amazing new products have come out from Berkeley and Pure Fishing. One of which there's a couple that we really like. But the Screamin' Chapo is a really cool topwater bait that I think you need to get in the fall, for this fall. So you want to go check that out, and we're gonna be keeping posting on social about all the really cool new stuff that is coming out from them. But Thump Gel, Jake and I have been using this. Jake is in all the high school derbies, man. He's committed to it. And Thump Gel has a glow product that has just been released. I want to, man, I got to invite you guys to go check that out. Is that on the TikTok shop, Justin?
Yeah, you
where
can
is
get
that
it on. You can get it on Thump Gel's website. You can get it. I don't know if they have the glow in the dark on the TikTok shop yet, but I'm sure it's on their website. But yeah, that is honestly one of the coolest things I've seen in a while. It really is, because I mean, you think about it. You know, if you're fishing at any sort of depth, a cloudy day, you know, it's dark down there, so that's going to show up even if you're fishing in the afternoon or whatever, and it doesn't come off. So, yeah, it's pretty freaking cool.
It is very cool. It's you know, you look at it and all right, this is great. It's going to be a great nighttime tool, and it will be for you guys that do a lot of, you know, low light fishing. But like you said, in a variety of conditions, we already know that the scent draws strikes and it stays on long, but increase that visibility under all those different conditions and change you know, the look of certain baits. You want to go check that out. That is Thump Gel's new product, just released, guys. So you want to go check that out.
Yeah, for sure.
And we are going to be releasing some Bass University stuff coming real soon. We've got our classes that are going to be coming up, so we're going to keep you guys posted on all that stuff. Look on our social for that. Is there anything else we need to talk about, Justin?
Yep. Just want to give a quick shout out to Ken Chuck Fish, sending in this pic, rocking the fresh Bass U Avco Sun shirt with a nice largie there. So shout out Ken, sub of the week this week.
Ken,
yep. Don't ask me where that is, Pete, because it's an undisclosed location.
Do you know what area of the country it is? Let's guess.
It's somewhere up north, because famously when we did Zoom seminars, Ken Chu was watching the Zoom seminars from an ice hut. So I know it's somewhere up in the far north.
It looks that water looks like a glacial impacted body of water. It looks nice and clear. We want an invite up there. Thank you, as always, for being part of Bass University, Ken, and looking sharp in your Bass University sun shirt hoodie. And thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. And we will see you next week with another episode of Bass University Live.